Alrighty, friends. Welcome, welcome, one and all. So good to have everybody. Let's invite the chime to sing and let's set an intention for our practice today. And I'm going to pull out my basket of intention cards that I've made over the years. Alrighty, this one reads, may you remember that you inspire. May you remember that you inspire. Friends, there are a couple of things I'd like to do for our practice today. The first is to revisit some of the boundaries and the framework of our practice, some of the vows that we take as lay Buddhist practitioners that enables us to practice with integrity and ethics, really. And then we're going to get into a conversation and a practice with this book called Standing at the Edge by Roshi Joan Halifax. We have been studying this book for 2.5 years together on Wednesdays in this Sangha. And we are so close to being done. It's just amazing. And today we're going to talk, I'm going to share with you Roshi's practice for cultivating compassion called GRACE. And the word GRACE is actually an acronym. GRACE. And so we'll be reviewing that today. For now, I want to take this sentiment of metta, loving kindness. May you remember that you inspire. And I'd like to bring that into our consciousness as a way of remembering that you is everybody. People who behave in ethical ways inspire. People who are confused and agitated and upset can also inspire. And even though that avenue and that access to inspiration may be uncomfortable, it may activate dis-ease, emotions that are challenging and difficult to work with, individuals who stir us that way are nevertheless inspiring. So the thing that I want to share with you today is a teaching that I offer. I do teach this extensively, and it's called The Cauldron and the Spoon. And today I'd just like to offer you something very simple as a way of imagining how to work with activation, how to work with triggering. Imagine that each of us is a cauldron of emotion and experience and wonder and beauty. And in that cauldron is just the most amazing stew. And every once in a while, we encounter life. And life, the spoon, will stir up our cauldron. It stirs up all of our stuff. And what do most of us have a propensity to do? We have a propensity not to look at the stew that's being stirred up. We have a propensity to blame the spoon. The Buddhist practice is an invitation to mature away from that adolescent response of projected blame and start to cultivate some curiosity of, wow, would you look at this? Look at all this activation that's being stirred up. The spoon, although the spoon is real and we don't want to spiritually bypass and say the spoon doesn't matter. You know, people are going to do what people are going to do, hurt people, all that stuff. That agitator, spoons are agitators, and the way the spoon can come into our cauldron can be really unskillful, really harmful, dangerous, not okay. So to pretend that it doesn't matter is not spiritually mature. However, to over-focus on the spoon is also not mature. So we recognize, we've got an agitator in the mix. What's going on with me? And that's the practice. And so remember, friends, on the journey of recovery, the people who are drawn to recover from negative habit energy are diverse in their capacity for vulnerability, diverse in the capacity for curiosity, diverse in one's capacity for presence and understanding. There are even people in our community who are still actively using substances and misusing substances. All are welcome in the Spokane Sangha. We simply engage this practice by honoring where we are and honoring one another. So, friends, may I say again, take this time to reflect. And if you have been using substances today, know that that is part of your journey. That is where you are, and we bow to your journey. May you use this time to listen. And rather than risk the negative effects of substance misuse and maybe participate in unskillful speech or unwise action or unethical behavior, you just take this time to listen. And I ask that you respectfully not share. I also want to let people know that if you are using substances, including nicotine or whatever the devices are, vapes, such a boomer. All of that is absolutely fine with me in the Spokane Sangha. If you're online, I simply invite you to turn your camera off. Just be respectful that that behavior could activate somebody unnecessarily. So this is where we really get to exercise some wisdom, some friendly curiosity, and come together as we are, respectfully, kindly, and compassionately. When we are activated, friends, don't blame the spoon. Come back to yourself. Get curious about what's being stirred, and then above all things, begin the extraordinary, impeccable practice of offering yourself compassion. With that, let us turn our attention to Roshi Joan Halifax. And this is a chapter called Compassionate Practice. Today, we are going to bring forward grace. Grace. I'm going to share with you what each of those letters means in a single word, and then I'll read for you how Roshi describes it. G, ground yourself. R, recall the situation. Recall what will serve you best. A, attune yourself to the present moment. C, consider what will serve. I like to think of this as conditions. E, engage, and then exit. Roshi writes, The G in grace is a reminder for us to pause and give ourselves time to get grounded. On the inhale, we gather our attention. On the exhale, we drop our attention into the body, sensing a place of stability. And then we focus our attention on the breath or on an area of the body that feels neutral. Not everybody enjoys working with the breath. And I really love Roshi's invitation to simply drop your attention into your body and find a place in your body that feels neutral. One of my favorite things to do with respect to this is find a place in my body that is often under noticed. My elbows are a good place that are very neutral. The pad of my thumb is a neutral place. My ears are super neutral. And when I take notice of these places, I smile because there's a little bit of absurdity planted in there. And smiling and laughter and humor, this as an adaptive coping mechanism helps me ground. You can also use an object or a phrase, a mantra, anything that brings you to the present moment. So let's do that together. And I just encourage you to trust your own knowing, trust your intuitive wisdom. And as you inhale, grounding grace, gathering up your attention. And as you exhale, what do you notice? Where is your mind drawn? Where is your attention flowing with ease? Go there. Even if it seems weird, even if something in you goes, oh, that might be wrong, go with it. Breathe in, breathe out. The R in grace is to recall. You're recalling what's going to be helpful, but you're also recalling your motivation and your intention. Our motivation and intention is to engage with life and engage with our activations with integrity, openness, friendly curiosity. So after we've grounded, we return and we recall, oh, I am here to practice aspiring to my highest self. I am not here to engage my predictable reactivity. I am here to do something different. Roshi writes, our motivation keeps us on track, morally grounded, and connected to our highest values. Beautiful. Ground, recall. A is to attune to the environment, attune yourself to others, attune yourself to the situation. Roshi encourages us that this attunement is first to our own physical, emotional, and cognitive experience, and then to the experience of others. Remember, friends, The Buddhist practice is all about putting your mask on first, and then you can help others. When we are attuning, a little bit like grounding, we are acknowledging the four foundations of mindfulness, basically. We're real quick checking in with, how's my body? What's my mood? What are my thoughts doing? What are the stories I'm telling? Roshi writes, when we feel emotionally triggered by a person we're interacting with, our reactivity might affect our ability to perceive another with clear eyes and to care. But if we are aware of our reactivity and reflect on the nature and sources of the person's suffering, we might be able to reframe the situation in a non-judgmental and insightful way. From this base of self-attunement, we attune to others, sense without judgment into their experience, and this is an active form of bearing witness. It is also the moment when we can engage our capacity for empathy. It is also a practice of opening a space for the encounter to unfold as it is, and a space where we can be present for whatever may arise. Easier said than done. And here's a hint. Here's a spiritual hint. And it's not a very pleasant one. I'm just going to warn you all. The only way to get good at it is to encounter it. So we have to have people that stir our cauldrons, that churn our stews. They scrape the bottom, the burnt, sticky stuff. They're the ones that really get in there. And it can be really uncomfortable, but the only way we can improve, the only way we can expand and grow our capacity is by allowing some space for these triggers, for these challenging folks and perspectives. And may I say, we're not always up for it. And that's something to attune to. Some days we have so much patience and capacity. Who knows why? Maybe we had good sleep. Maybe we had good food. Maybe a long sustained period of sobriety has increased our capacity. Maybe we've been with really, really inspired people. Who knows? On other days, we have no patience, no capacity, not having it. Be open to noticing and attune to that. If you don't have the capacity, do not engage in ways that forces you to have what you do not. That is a disingenuous way of being with other people. Be true to yourself, and you are true to everyone else. The C in grace is to consider what will serve. And that's part of this attunement practice too. You can see how they fold into one another. When I'm not patient, when I'm fed up, when I'm activated and I'm not seeing clearly, what serves me is to remove myself from the situation or to create some distance between me and the person who's activating me. I'm not ready for that spoon. This particular spoon scraped the edge of my cauldron and I don't have the capacity for it. So I may have to remove the spoon for a bit. I may have to put the lid on myself. I might have to go for a walk. Consider what will serve. If I don't do this, I risk being unskillful. I risk infusing the situation with more harm. Why would I do that? Roshi writes, this is a process of discernment that is based on conventional understanding and is also supported with our own intuition and insight. We ask ourselves, what is the wise and compassionate path here? What is an appropriate response? She writes, as we draw on our own expertise, knowledge, and experience, and at the same time remain open to seeing things in a fresh way, we may find that our insights fall outside of a predictable category. Considering what will serve requires attention, an effective balance, a deep sense of moral grounding, recognition of our own biases, and attunement into the experience and needs of the other person who is suffering. Humility is another important guide. Ground. Recall your intention. Remember your motivation. Attune yourself. Come back to yourself. Consider what will serve. Be discerning. Be creative. And then engage. Ethically engage or act, Roshi says, if it's appropriate. Compassionate action emerges from the field we've created out of openness, connection, and discernment. Our action might be a recommendation, a question, a proposal, or even not doing anything. When the time is right, we mark the end of our time in this compassionate interaction so that we can move cleanly to the next moment, person, or task. That's the second aspect of the E. That's to end or to exit. Whether the outcome is more than we expected or disappointingly small, we should notice and acknowledge what has transpired. Sometimes we have to forgive ourselves or someone else. Or this can be a moment of deep appreciation. For me, friends, this is a moment of taking stock. This is a moment of acknowledging this just happened. And by acknowledging it in this way, we don't have to keep reliving it. We don't have to perseverate. This happened, this action happened, this went well, this didn't go well. We'll do things differently next time, and then we keep going. A final word on the grace practice, friends, and this endeavor to connect and communicate and engage with integrity, sincerity, honesty. It is a risk. The risk is getting it wrong, making a mistake. The risk is having someone else get it wrong and observing and bearing witness to them making a mistake and experiencing all the discomfort that ensues. In my estimation and discernment, it is a risk worth taking because this is the fertile ground for growing our compassion, growing our presence, frankly, growing our skill, our strength on the Noble Eightfold Path. The Buddhist practice, friends, is spiritual warriorship. And we practice to grow strong and clear. We cannot do this in the absence of challenge, in the absence of activation and agitation. We do this in the present moment with whatever is arising. We offer ourselves compassion the whole way, and by extension, we offer compassion to the world, and in doing so, it heals. Friends, let us come back to the practice with a dedication of merit. Today's practice was really a blend of experiences. The experience of being in community where we're going to be activated. The experience of being in a recovery community where people are going to be experiencing the very normal aspect of recovery, which is recurrence. Recognizing that recurrences happen and that means people are not always skillful. This is all part of it. And we sit with it, we bear witness to it, we work with it, we strengthen our minds, we retrain our thinking. And all of this through the beautiful guidance of Roshi Joan Halifax and the grace practice. Roshi's, one of her teachers is Thich Nhat Hanh. Together they have been totally dedicated in socially engaged Buddhism. Thich Nhat Hanh's teaching, Don't Blame the Lettuce, inspired my teaching, Don't Blame the Spoon, the Cauldron and the Spoon. If you don't know that teaching, look it up. It's in his book, Peace is Every Step. And it's really about working with projection and learning to come back to ourselves and take care of ourselves with curiosity, friendliness, and compassion, to change the inner landscape of heart and mind from a place of violence and aggression to a place of love, kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity. These are the qualities for peace in ourselves, in one another, in the world. Thank you for your commitment to practice. Thank you for bringing it here. We'll see you next time. Namaste. See you later, friends.